What's up guys, Aroneous here with another Raid Shadow Legends video. Thank you guys for tuning in, really appreciate it. If you're new to the channel, please consider leaving a like on the video and subscribing to the channel for new content that I bring out almost every single day. So first things first, I want to talk about faction wars and how important it is as a free-to-play or low-spend player, and how you can min-max your resources when you're beating faction wars, and how to basically progress in faction wars even faster, right? So the first things first is a lot of players tend to keep a lot of gear that you just don't need, okay? So a lot of players out there will have gear that is flat stat attack, flat stat HP, flat stat defense, and you're just not supposed to have this gear on an attack-based champion. You can see that Nishak is a legendary champion. He's attack-based. And a lot of players that are new tend to put the wrong gear on the wrong champions. It's really important that you're putting the right gear on the right champions at all times. So quick tip on this is this person does bombs. Bombs scale from attack. Many of you don't know this if you're brand new to the game, but you're going to be reading a lot. A lot of these skills are booklets. A lot of these things take you on a journey, okay? It's almost like you're reading a freaking book, like you're reading Harry Potter. If you've read Harry Potter, you know it's such a long, extensive, expansive book, okay? So basically you want to make sure attack-based champions, you need to build attack on them, right? That's first things first. When you're going into faction wars, the other thing is you want to make sure you're building a lot of speed on your champions. Faction wars, you want to make sure you're fast so you can take more turns than the enemy waves. The more turns you're taking, the more likely you're going to take down your enemies before they take down you. Okay, so you want to make sure you're going fast. So this is more of an end game build, right? So you're obviously not going to have these sort of stats early game, but you do want to have some speed, because if you don't have any speed, you're just not going to take enough turns and you're not going to do enough damage. So no speed, the wrong gear just means you're failing, right? Is it a bad thing? Are you now not going to be able to play anymore? No, that's not the case. You just need to make sure you go into the respective dungeons, go into campaign, and farm for the right gear, and make sure that you're farming accordingly to the level that you're at, okay? So you don't want to go to the top end of the highest stage and it takes 5 to 10 minutes to farm, unless you're going to farm it overnight or during the day. If you're just sitting there and you want to farm things quickly, for example, say you're stuck on Spider's Den. One big tip for this, for an early game player, if you're trying to get better gear for faction wars, and you need your amulet, you need your ring, and you need your banner for your champions, farm stage 10, because it's going to have the highest drop rate of 5-star gear. So that's really important, and just go to where your account can take you. Obviously, you want to go as high as possible to get the highest drop rates on the best gear, right? But if you can only do stage 10, do stage 10. Don't worry too much about it, but don't stay there forever, okay? That's the other thing, is people get scared of progressing further because they lose once or twice on a dungeon. It's okay to lose once in a while, but you have to take a few losses to get better. And you also want to make sure you're not continuously utilizing the same level 4 gear, level 3 gear, and even level 5 gear as you progress on your account. And that's another thing, is people are stuck at a certain stage and they feel like they can't progress because they keep on keeping that really bad gear that you don't need. Another thing is, basically, this is what I've done many times, and I've actually done this now, is I'm full on gear. All my gear is full. Inbox is full here. My taverner is full at 1300. You need to gear cleanse. You need to get rid of gear that you just don't need, okay? So if you want to progress in the game, sometimes it's good to keep your strongest gear and throw away other gear that just doesn't roll correctly. For example, if you're trying to gain better stats on gear, but you just seem to roll on all the flat stats, get rid of that gear. You don't need it. Maybe early game, if you get a 6-star piece and it rolls on flat stats, say if it's a chest plate, for example. In early game, you pull the chest plate. This one, for example, is resistance with 1 roll on speed, defense, and accuracy. This is a very old chest plate for me. Eventually, I want to get rid of this chest plate. I'm in the late game, end game. I don't need this chest plate anymore technically, but I don't have many chest plates for speed set, as you can see. But I do have a lot of helmets. Do I really need all that? No, not necessarily, but what happens is people become hoarders and then they can't progress further because you can't utilize the best gear on your account possible. So you need to get rid of your gear and then siphon in new gear, so you're getting double and triple rolls on your gear. And then one most important part about Faction Wars and progressing is the fact that you keep getting gear, but you're not switching your gear around. You keep throwing in your silver into the new gear that you're getting, and then you run out of silver. Like, for example, I ran out of silver from this fusion, but you run out of silver because all you're doing is trying to get more gear and trying to spread your resources thin across all of your gear on your account. When in reality, why not focus on your best gear on your account and then move that gear around? And the best gear for Faction Wars is going to be regeneration set and stun set. Okay, so the reason why I say that is because regen set it actually got a buff about a year or 2 years ago, maybe a year and a half ago, and the buff was pretty extensive and it was very massive for the game, and you should absolutely be farming the Fire Knight's Tavern or Fire Knight's Castle in order to get regen set. So you can see on the left side here, there's all different types of set. Fire Knight has the best sets in the game, in my opinion, next to Dragon for speed sets. But Fire Knight in the late game and end game and just general progression has the best sets. It has stun for CC, which is crowd control, 18% chance to place a stun debuff on the target. When you place a stun debuff, that means that they're not going to attack you for one turn. With regeneration set, you want to make sure you're putting this on. It's a 4-piece set. So when you get good gear, you're healing up constantly and you're not having to worry too much about as many support-based champions. For example, I don't think the faction is open, but when I had the faction crypt open, I ended up beating Sacred Order faction crypt with all epic champions. I didn't have to use legendary champions when I first beat it, and I beat Bannerlord as well with mostly epic champions. Now you can check out those videos. I do have videos of me beating it free to play. This is my free to play account, and I beat many of these Faction War stages with no legendaries or no revive champions. And the reason why I was able to do that is because of stun sets from Fire Knight's Castle and because of regeneration sets, because they passively heal your allies. And when your champions are being healed by regen, you want to make sure that regen, and you can build it either tanky as a support base almost, or you can build them with damage and regen, but have a little bit of HP, have a little bit of defense, so that way they're healing up and a lot of speed. You want to aim for a lot of speed on regeneration set, so that way you're cycling through your turns, you're healing yourself up, and you're not having to worry about bringing in a support if you just don't have them. Now, obviously, a support-based champion is also super, super impactful for having a regeneration set, because in Faction Wars, if your reviver dies, for example, if you're trying to go up against stage 21 and it's a very hard-hitting boss, you do not want your revivers dying. Okay, so revivers are a very, very great opportunity for you to put a regeneration set on. Whereas a champion that has an AoE attack, you're going to want to put on a stun set, because a stun set's going to help you CC the waves, crowd control them and make sure they don't take a turn and hit you and kill you, or the pesky Valkyrie waves where they're putting on the counterattacks and big shields. Hopefully we can stun them and they won't take a turn. So that was just a few tips and tricks that I had for Faction Wars and how you can progress faster. Mainly is you want to go ahead and take the gear off of your champions that already have fully leveled up regen from other factions and saving up your silver and switching it over to your other faction champions. Now, obviously, over time, you're going to get better gear, but to progress a little bit quicker and not to continuously farm and basically go through all your resources, you can simply take your gear off of your champions that are in Faction Wars where you've beaten it up to stage 21, take that gear, switch it over to your champions for your new faction, and then you'll probably be able to progress a little bit faster. So those were the tips and tricks I had for you guys today. If you want to leave some more tips and tricks down below, please feel free to do so. Make sure to leave a like on your way out, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you on a video soon. Peace.